So I'm going to start with being super defensive and say that I'm not going to apologize for the way I look. This is how I look right now. This is what it is. This is my hair. This is my face. This has to be good enough for you, and if you don't like it, go elsewhere. As you can see, I'm not here to chase clout. I'm not here with a huge following. This is what it is. And I have to say it for myself so I can feel more comfortable. Keep going and talking about what I want to talk about. And this is just me protecting my own sanity. Maybe it's me using and vocalizing some affirmations of I'm protecting myself, this is what it is, love it or leave it. Today I'm drinking hot cocoa. Yummy. And I have some water. I have a need to express myself lately. It's funny, I took a long break and now I have a huge need just to express myself. Most likely it's because I am just so lonely. I won't lie. I am not surrounded by anyone but my parents and my grandparents and my students, and I need some place to express myself safely and share my thoughts and my ideas. And I'll do it here, I'll do it now, and it will have to make do, and that's good. And I'm just going to use this platform more for how I feel right now. Maybe tomorrow everything will change, right? If I would have told myself when I was 16 or 15, when I had this huge crave of leaving the house, I felt so unsafe, so unheard, so wrong, so depressed. If I would have told myself at that age that I'm at 30, I'm going to go back to my parents' house, I would have said that it's just not worth it, and I would have yeeted myself so long ago. I wouldn't have stayed on this earth, and I wouldn't be here right now. I craved my freedom. I craved my own space. I craved my own house, my own rules, my own life. I crave success. And the story that I told myself is when I'll be 30, I'll be 30 and flirty and thriving. Not really, but I always told myself that by 30 everything will work out for me and everything will be okay. I have my own home, my own friends, my own husband, my own dog, my own cat. I'll be a successful singer who travels the world and is happy. That 16-year-old lived at her parents' house who had to work on their own trauma and pain and experience of this earth, with siblings who had to do the same. And we all tried our best. I don't see my parents as bad people. I see them as flawed, and unfortunately for them and for me, the system did not work in my favor. It still doesn't. And to ask of them to see me the way I needed to be seen and take care of me the way I needed to be taken care of is so unrealistic, and it didn't happen, so there's no need to think about the past. But that unfortunately was not only traumatic, it was negligence. but they did their best. They tried. I was diagnosed as autistic only at the age of 28 and 30. My mom knew from the beginning that there's not something wrong. I didn't speak until I was 3. I always had issues with communications. I always had issues with social code and social norms, and everybody around my mother said something wrong with your daughter. Something is wrong. And she went to every professional that there was, and nobody's seen it. Nobody knew what to do with me. And my parents moved to my parents moved into where we live right now from Russia. And in Russia, as you know, it's not the best place for a human to exist, especially not in the SSSR. And talking about emotions and just even thinking about psychology was nonsense. It wasn't even something to think about. And my parents used to be the most progressive parents that there were. My parents let me they never dragged me so much about my grades, supposedly. That's what they say, but like they didn't in the way that Russian people did. And they let me not go to school, and they let me do whatever I want. And my mom couldn't really deal with me. I was too hard for her to deal with. It's funny thinking about it now. I never thought of myself as somebody who is headstrong and really hard to get along with, or somebody that will not take no for an answer. I've never seen myself as that. I always felt as if I'm gentle and weak, and I don't know. But now looking back, I see that wasn't the case. And them coming here and moving from Russia, they came with nothing. They were immigrants who were poor, who came to a new country with no language, with a profession that wasn't taking back count. They had to start anew from scratch and build their way up. We were poor. At that time when we were at our poorest, it was just me and my sister, and for about 8 years, for her it was 10, we were really bad. We were really doing bad, and we used to live with our grandparents in a really small cottage. And I remember when I was super young, my mom used to sew our clothes, and money was always a sore subject, and it was always a problem. And me being an autistic girl, I had so many sensory needs and problems that I had wow, it's so crazy to think about it now. For a long time, the only thing I could eat was pizza and falafel, and I used to work in babysitting jobs just to be able to eat outside, because I couldn't eat my mother's food. For a long time, it used to be just hummus with bread and cucumber, most likely cucumber or salted cucumbers, they are called. Pickles. That used to be my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I switched into hot sandwiches. So basically, I was so autistic. I just now realize how bad I was and how much of a picky eater I was. I had some good times, but I always came back to 3 meals a day, the same food and nothing else. So interesting to see now. And because of that, my will was super strong, and I always fought with everybody around me, and I always misunderstood the situation, and it caused a lot of problems with my family and a lot of fights. And I screamed a lot and cried a lot, and I was highly emotional because I never got what I needed. I never got the tools because, unfortunately, for my parents, they didn't get them either, and they still don't really know how to work on their own emotions. And right now, I'm the one teaching them, so it's really funny to see how the wheel is turning. And I struggled financially. Even then, I struggled socially. Even then, I struggled in school. I struggled with everything, but I had a dream, and I said to myself, everything is going to be better when I get older. I'll get my friends, I'll get my life, and everything will be okay. And now, coming back to my parents' house is the best privilege I've ever had. It's actually a rise in my level of life. It's a level up. It's everything I wanted, even though I didn't know that that's how it will come about. And that's crazy because I moved out of my parents' house and I put myself in such a financial debt. I couldn't stay here. I couldn't speak to my parents. I couldn't speak to my sister or my brother. I couldn't be next to them or close to them. There was so much trauma, there was so much pain, there was so much neglect and feeling unsafe with trauma that related to them, but not specifically because of them. And I had to move out so I can come here and be who I am right now. I've put myself in such major debt that I seriously, even though I'm trying and working my ass off, right now I'm trying to be positive, but it's really hard to see the other way, to see the other side. And yet, I am privileged. I'm privileged being here. It's crazy to see how far I've come, and that me putting myself in that debt was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I still hate myself for it. And now I'm so happy that I did, even though right now I'm suffering. But I did what I needed to do to survive. And that girl who took a loan after a loan after a loan to cover her basic needs of living alone and financing existing, and just crying and smoking weed. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Dissociating and crying and writing in my journal and just being in my feels and just hiding from the world, learning about autism, learning about myself, trying to be in relationships, trying to be in friendships. I've had to go through this even though I couldn't afford it. And me doing that hard work and getting into such debt brought me here, which is back to my parents' house, which, again, when I came back 2 months ago, 3 months ago, it was a huge punch in my gut, thinking of going back to my parents' house, where my grandparents live with us, and they have dementia, and it's pretty bad. My grandma is not here. She needs assistance, and she has a person giving her care. Her carer is here living with us too, and we're right now 6 people in the house. And my grandma screams all night and screaming, help me. And my beautiful doggy is getting older, and my parents. and I'm still struggling financially, and I'm still trying to figure shit out, and yet I can actually say that this is a level up. This is the best place I've ever been in. And that's crazy. And the first few months I just cried. I just cried over how bad everything is, how I don't see the future, how I can't believe that at the age of 30 I'm back at my parents' house. But now I realized how privileged I am, because my parents are not where they used to be. Not financially, not emotionally. The house, my brother and my sister had moved out, so basically the house is only for me and my parents and my grandparents, which they have their own unit and they have their own life. And the house, I don't have my siblings, which only that dynamic caused so much trouble. I have supposedly my own floor for myself, which I don't need to pay rent for it, which, can I be any greater, like any more grateful for that? Just thinking about how much money I would have paid leaving the house just for the bare minimum, for the worst house possible, would have been, I don't make enough money even to pay for it. And living in my parents' house, I have such high standards of living just by being here. It's freaking crazy. I wouldn't be able to afford this life. I wouldn't. And when I was living alone, existing was so hard, working a full-time job and cleaning the house and cooking and doing the laundry. And right now, my parents can't afford a cleaning lady. I don't clean my own rooms or my own house, when in the past it used to be on me. Since I was like 14 till 20, every Friday I would have cleaned the house of my parents. Like, it was on my shoulders to clean this house. And now I don't have to. Now there is a cleaning lady. It's crazy to think about that. And just taking that off my shoulders gave me so much strength to try to figure out this place to where I'm at, emotionally, physically, financially, career-wise. There was so much stress on just existing and picking myself up just to, like, there were days where I couldn't brush my teeth or take a shower for like days at a time. I just couldn't. I was so burnt out that I just couldn't. Now I'm still working really hard to figure things out. I've started my own business. I've started my own studios. I'm starting from scratch. And I would have never been able to do that if I wouldn't have come back to my parents' house. This is a privilege that I never had, and I don't need to pay for food. I don't need to pay for electricity. I don't need to pay even for my car, for gas. This privilege was never given to me ever in my life. This is a new thing that my parents are able to afford, and they're willing and they're happy to offer that to me. And on the one hand, I feel so sad. I feel so ashamed that I need to rely on them so much. But somebody has told me that, unfortunately for my parents, even though they love me so much, they couldn't give me that before. And had they given that to me before, I wouldn't have been in this situation. So now it's a privilege to them, and they said it to me too. Not in those words, but it's a privilege for them to help me because now they can. I'm not counting on living on their expense. This is not who I am. I've been working since I was 13. Even when I tried to finish my degree I worked a full-time job while studying. There's a reason why I couldn't finish the degrees that I started. It was too much. I've been working my ass off since I was 13, and Wow, that's going to make me emotional. This is the first time that I'm taking care of myself and people can take care of me too. And I never felt so taken care of in my life. And that's a privilege, and I'll have to take it. I can't afford not to use this privilege, especially because I don't want to be dependent on my parents for my whole entire life. So now, while they can and I can while they can afford it, I'm going to work my ass off. So I won't be needing to be dependent on them in the future, and so I can help them when they'll get older. If I can, I'm still trying to figure out how much my body can actually create, how much stress my body can partake in without breaking and without going into a meltdown and a shutdown and being sick and just going into burnout that can lead to half a year being stuck in bed. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, even though in the past I thought that going back to my parents' house will be the biggest loss of my existence, now I see how privileged I am. This is me leveling up. This is me creating the life that I want, a life that I can sustain, a life that I can love. And things are getting better.